We're so pleased to have on set today Lynne Barrett, who's the Director of Finance for the town of Plymouth. Welcome, Lynne, to Town Talk.
Thank you.
I'm losing my voice. It's not you. Today we want to talk about the meals tax, how it came about, who pays it, what it was used for originally, and what potentially it could be used for in the future.
Okay. The meals tax is, it's a 0.75% on a meal in town. Any restaurants, any like Dunkin' Donuts when you go to buy your coffee or your
Any
egg
prepared-
sandwich,
any prepared foods.
foods.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. So it's a 0.75% local option on the meals tax. So communities were afforded this option back in, I think it came about like in 2010, 2011. Where each community could adopt locally to add on the 0.75% on a meal. And because currently right now the state of Massachusetts collects a 6.25% meals tax.
Right, so this brings it up to 7.
Exactly.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. So that option was afforded to towns locally, and Plymouth, I think, was challenged at first with, do they want to adopt it? There was some backlash, from restaurants, but in the long run, I think people thought that, this would be good for the town. It's a way to, sort of invest some money locally into our community. So it came to town meeting a couple of times, but it finally got voted in as to accept the meals tax and to establish a fund, what's called an 1820 courthouse fund.
Yep.
And that fund is used for the 1820 courthouse building and the associated properties, which would include town hall and the structure that was built on Russell Street. So the fund actually is used for construction, anything to do with those properties. So currently right now what the town is using it for is to pay for the construction of town hall, the principal and interest on that.
On the loan.
On the loan, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember back when the meals tax in Massachusetts first went through, people were like, oh no,
Yeah.
And you get used to it. It's
Right.
just,
Yeah.
and that was 6%, that was a lot. This 0.75 it's not huge.
No, I mean, it's
And people are used to it.
75 cents, I think, on $100.
Right, right. So you get used to it.
Yeah.
So up until this point, all the money collected from the meals tax has gone specifically to the 1820. And actually, we might as well just call it town hall.
Yeah, it goes into this fund. It's a receipt reserved for appropriation. And town meeting is authorized to spend the money out of that fund. So
Right.
what we do every year is when we go to town meeting for the budget article, we actually request to transfer the money for the principal and interest on the town hall project out of that fund to fund those payments. So that's what we're doing right now with it.
And right now, it can't be used for anything else.
No, it's specifically in that act for that fund, the special legislation, just for that.
And does this have a expiration date?
It does. It has a sunset clause of June 30th, 2040.
Okay.
And I think initially when they established it, they thought, okay, that'll give us enough years to pay for the construction of the new town hall, which normally is like over a 30-year period. Now, so there is a sunset clause, but it's a sunset clause on the fund, not on the meals tax.
Itself.
The meals tax itself.
And this fund was a specific fund.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So what you would probably like to do is continue on with this and be able to utilize these monies for other things within the town.
Yes, I think by looking at the fund and like right now, it's taking in, and every year obviously it goes up, based on the number of, meals that are in town.
And it'll probably go way up next year.
Yeah, and we're tracking it, to make, to see if it's meeting our estimates, and it is meeting our estimates, and it's actually even better than our estimates.
Yep.
So the amount of money that's going in there is paying for that principal and interest payment every year. But at some point, there's going to, the fund will start to build. So
Right.
they'll start to build like a balance in there. So what we've talked about internally is maybe going back to town meeting and modifying the language on the special act to expand it for for other things. For example, we've discussed like other infrastructure, other buildings, in town, being able to use this fund to help towards that. So I think within the next, and also to remove the sunset clause, because
Right.
if you kept if you remove that, then the fund
it's
will
got
just
20 more
continue
years
to
than
build.
then it's gone.
Right. So
So you want this basically in perpetuity.
I would
it just
think
goes
so.
forever.
I would think
and
so.
the money
yeah.
can be used for, and if you rewrite this act, can you say on any town-owned properties so that you could then decide what needs it, what has the most need?
Yes, you can. You can put language in the act to be very specific, or you could put language in the act to be more broad. So
Okay.
it's whatever town meeting, would want to send to the legislature to adopt.
So the Mass legislature has to approve this.
Yes.
This
yeah.
can't just be done within the town.
No, it's a special act, so it's a request from the local, town meeting to the legislature
Yep.
to, either establish it or to modify it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll get any pushback on this? Because to me, it
I
makes
wouldn't
total
think
sense.
so. I wouldn't think so. I mean, I know initially they, a lot of times the state will say, well, why do you want to, earmark a tax for something specific? Well, I mean, as you know, John Mahoney, it's like he'd want to earmark things for certain things, because if we didn't have it in the first place, why would you put it into, say, your checking account
Right.
and use it for that than to earmark it for something else?
Right.
So I think, at first we said, well, we didn't have it in the first place, but we want to put this in a special fund to be able to use for a special purpose. So it's not like we're taking money away from ourselves. We'd actually be, giving ourselves a tool to help,
Right.
with infrastructure.
So the money that's collected now and the debt that you still owe, when will that cease to exist? The debt that you still owe.
I don't have the dates with me specifically, but we actually did 3 notes altogether, and each of them were over a 30-year period. So some of them get paid off. Basically what happens is when you look at the trajectory of the fund is the fund will continue to grow, but it'll pay off all that debt. And
Right.
in 2040, when the meals tax stops going into that fund,
Right.
if you don't remove the sunset clause, then the meals tax is just going to go in the general fund, because we're still going to collect it. It's just going to go into the general fund. But it starts to build up to it looks like maybe between $10 and $15 million would be sitting in that fund at the very end, looking for something to do.
There's a lot of stuff we
Right.
could do with that $10 to
Now,
$15
granted,
million.
it's not today. We
Right.
don't have it today.
Right.
This is sort of
But this is
looking
all
out the
long-term planning,
estimates,
which makes sense.
Yeah. So I think, I think we still have some time to work on modifying the language, if that's what town meeting would like to do, and I think they would, so we have some time to maybe, expand on the uses of it and, as to, and to remove that sunset clause. Yeah.
Just as a weird thought, could you, if you change the language of this is what it can be used for, and let's just say it's infrastructure in general, or building maintenance and upgrades in general, could you start using some of that money now on other buildings, or do you have to pay off the debt on the courthouse first?
I think,
Do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah.
And I think the intention would be to obviously pay off the courthouse as soon as we could.
Right.
So there are opportunities during the time of a borrowing where you can do some refinancing,
Yep.
or maybe pay it down, or
Yep.
pay it off, or something like that. So those opportunities aren't around right now.
But
you
they
have
might
to
be.
wait for
Yeah.
the call period
Right.
to happen. But they will happen within the next 10 years. So
Right.
whoever the finance director is at that time, they may want to do that.
Right.
Maybe try to pay it off, pay it down. That way there'd be other monies in that fund, to be used for other things, as the collections continue to come in.
So can people go somewhere to see all the money that's been collected and what it's been spent on?
Yeah, so right now what we do is we have a report that we put in the town report, which is the book that gets handed out at town meeting. You can pick one up in the town clerk's office.
Yeah.
So every year at the back of our finance department report, we just have an accounting of that fund, how much the meals taxes come in, what we've earned on interest in that fund, what we've used it for. And then also on our website, on the finance department page website, we have a link that's called Finance Report Center, I think it is. And when you go to that link, there's an item on there called meals tax.
Okay.
And when you click on that, it'll give you the language of the special act. It'll give you some charts
all
on
this
money
stuff.
that's
Yep.
come in
Yep.
and everything. Yeah.
Okay, great. So anything else you want to talk about for town meeting, for budgeting?
Well, we're just gearing up right now. The subcommittees are reviewing all of the departmental budgets. The budget hearing for Advisory and Finance Committee is scheduled for Wednesday, February 26th, I believe, where they'll discuss and they'll vote the budget that they're going to recommend to town meeting.
Yep.
They're also going to be reviewing the capital projects, which that meeting is next week, Wednesday, February 12th. So we're getting ready for that. And
It's all coming at once.
there's just a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there is a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Does every town have a rainy day fund where, for stuff that you just didn't
Yeah.
think was going to happen and it happens?
Yeah.
Do we have one?
Yes, we have what's called a general stabilization fund.
Okay.
So usually every community has
Right.
one. You establish it locally, and it can be used for any lawful purpose. It just needs to be, it needs to go to town meeting,
Right.
and it would require a 2/3 vote
Okay.
to spend anything out of that.
Yeah.
What the town's been trying to do is put some money away into that, to sort of save for the rainy day.
Sure.
We've talked about our rainy day being maybe what happened with the sewer,
Yeah,
and
right.
if we didn't get the
Yep.
settlement that we wanted with Veolia, there's still, maybe, we may have to dip into that stabilization
Right.
fund, or we might not have to. It all depends on, how things go with Clean Water Trust and the borrowing and
Yep.
all that. But we do have that rainy day fund.
And the only other thing that I know a lot of people are questioning about is the lack of taxes you will now be getting from Entergy. Is there like a general statement you can just make about that?
It's sort of hard. Someone will always pay taxes on that property.
Okay.
What's happening now is because it's in a decommissioning state, is the value of that property is decreasing
Therefore,
dramatically.
the taxes have decreased.
So
right?
the taxes will decrease. So right now we are still in, we're within a pilot agreement that we've negotiated with them for payments through fiscal 21. So we will start to negotiate with Holtec for a continuance of that pilot agreement, and you come to hopefully some type of negotiation on what you think the value of
Yeah.
that property is going
Right.
to be and what the taxes should be. But eventually it will go down, and then either if there's some kind of reuse to that property
Right.
where we could bring the value back up again.
Yep.
Those are the things that
That's
we've
down
been
the
thinking
road.
about.
Yeah. And just in case anybody doesn't know, pilot is payment in lieu of taxes.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, and that's for, well, in Entergy's case, it's their tax payment.
Okay.
So they're required to pay
Right.
taxes. But it's a negotiated tax, based on value. So.
Okay. Lots to know, lots
Yeah.
to think about, and,
Yeah.
and all this information is available on the website.
Yes.
And we thoroughly encourage people to
Yeah.
go to town meeting armed with knowledge.
Yeah, and we've
Right.
tried to put a lot of information on our website in different areas. We have a lot of information on the finance department page.
Yeah.
We've added a lot of information that over the last 2 years. We put a lot of information on the quick links page, which has a section for town meeting information.
Right.
So we put a lot of backup for town meeting. We put budget stuff out there. So there's a lot of information out there. If anyone ever has any questions,
Yep.
they can call us or they can email us
Right.
at town hall or something.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So this has been Lynne Barrett, the Director of Finance for the Town of Plymouth on Town Talk.